An update for parents here as advocates are putting out a new round of messaging to help prevent child abuse, especially when it comes to student athletes. It's called We Ride Together. Founder Carrie Kehring joins us now to talk about the campaign and much more about it. Carrie, thanks so much for joining us this morning. I want to get right into it. It's interesting, and so many parents obviously have kids that play youth sports, but you look for signs that maybe something is going on behind the scenes. You yourself say you are a helicopter parent, and even you couldn't see things clearly.
Well, I think that's really important to know, right? So in our situation, we went through a situation where we found out our daughter, who was a junior in high school, had been groomed and sexually abused by a very trusted coach. And because of that and looking for all of the resources to navigate the after effects, I started We Ride Together. And because of We Ride Together, I've now talked to hundreds, if not thousands, of victims and parents. And what I can say is, the first question everybody has is, what are the big what are the big red flags? And in grooming situations, it's hard to spot the big red flags, right? You need to more put in place preventative measures and awareness about power imbalances and all of that, as opposed to expecting these big red flags to pop up everywhere.
The red flags might not be big, but are there signs at least maybe that you'll see a change in your child that might show that there could be something going on behind the scenes?
Well, absolutely. But again, grooming is a thing that starts very softly, and it's generally someone in your child's life who you trust, who you all trust. So you're really not going to see the signs. Now, you may see anxiety in your child, different types of behavior, things that, not sleeping or those little things, but those are things that you see in teenagers across the board, right? And so again, it really comes down to awareness and preventative measures and really discussing power imbalances in sports. And this is a place we don't have any education about power imbalances and how they affect children when your coach or your trainer or is, in many cases, just like your family, very, very, very critically important person in your life.
And somebody that your child's spending a lot of time with as well. You
Right.
talk about, preventative measures. One of the things that you're putting out there and some of the messaging now that your organization is doing is the rule of threes. How does that work?
Well, the rule of three is so easy, right? All it is it's not saying a coach or a trainer can't spend time and have discussions with their students. It's just saying have a third person around, right? And whether it's two children and one coach, or two adults and a child. And if you have to have a one-on-one conversation with a child or a young adult you're coaching, just make sure it's observable and interruptible.
When you started doing this, and since you've done so, and you mentioned you've been able to talk with hundreds of people who have been in a similar situation, how'd you find they're doing? What did you find worked for them, both in the process itself and then after the fact, in dealing with what has happened with their child?
Well, I would find anybody coming through this situation will tell you it's probably the worst situation you can even imagine. You're dealing with so much shock and so much trauma and tremendous after effects. And so that's why we created Out of Bounds, the Victim's Experience series, which takes a minute and puts people in the viewer's shoes. And then it's followed by, we have 12 experts, each one, 4 round tables about an hour long, and each one, all of these things being dissected about navigating the treacherous fallout from these things. Because the one thing I will say is, while everybody's experience is different and unique in their own and life-shattering, the after effects and what you need to traverse are the same for regardless of where the abuse happened, where the assault happened, how much grooming was involved. The effects of dealing with all of the after effects are just very treacherous waters, and that's where we try to create some guides and roadmaps for helping people do that.
Very important awareness for all parents out there if your child is involved in youth activities, in this case sports, but could be any youth activity. Carrie, thank you very much. I encourage people to go online, look for the resources that you have available now. There's the website if you'd like to check it out at We Ride Together. Carrie Kehring joining us, running the organization now. Thank you.